Hey, it's Jeff Cannata with another newest, latest, best mini, and it is Comic Book Wednesday. And it's a big Comic Book Wednesday. We got two big number ones I want to talk about. The first being Amazing Spider-Man number one. Amazing Spider-Man number one, hasn't that book been around forever? Heck yes, it has, but they got a new number one. Of course, Marvel wants to capitalize on the big movie that's coming out. By the way, if you have not already seen my review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, last Friday's NLB mini, you can check in my stream, in my channel. Just check it, click it. You can see my review of that movie. But yes, of course, Marvel wants to get all those people who are excited about Spider-Man. They have big plans for Spidey this year. And Dan Slott and Humberto Ramos, I think I pronounced that correctly, I hope, have a big number one. Peter Parker is back. Now, this is a strange number one. It's number ones are traditionally jumping on points for people to get back into a series. A lot has been very different from people that might be familiar with Spider-Man. A lot has been different recently, i.e. Peter Parker has been gone. What happened? Well, Dr. Octopus himself, swapped brains with Peter Parker, inhabited Spider-Man. Unbeknownst to everyone around him, he inhabited both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, pretended to be him, did a whole bunch of stuff while Peter was not around, and became the superior Spider-Man, and made a lot of enemies, and made a new business for Peter, completed Peter's PhD, did a lot of stuff. But now Peter's back in his own body and ready to be Spider-Man again. So it is a jumping on point in a lot of ways, but it also had to accomplish a lot of kind of catching people up to a lot of very strange recent happenings. So a lot of this issue is spent catching you up on where he's been and kind of putting Peter back into his life. And so I can understand if a lot of people who come out of the movie read this and go, wait, what's going on? What has Peter Parker been doing? Dr. Octopus, huh? Who are these new side characters? What's going on? But I think the issue does a good job of recapping what's been going on. The art is certainly beautiful. Nobody does hot babes. Well, there's a few people who do very good hot babes. But, and Dan Slott's writing is very fun. It's a lot of humor. It's got that quippy Spider-Man that I enjoy so much. He's really great at writing that guy. We have some hilarious villains that show up at the beginning that are really kind of back to that old Lee Ditko kind of like just making kind of silly fodder for Peter to scrape off the pavement of the street, basically, which is great fun, and it's great seeing Spider-Man in his element doing that. I'm excited to see where Spider-Man goes. This issue has no less than 7 backup stories to the main story, and they are doing all kinds of things. You get your Electro, your required Electro story because Electro's in the movie, and Electro is setting up. We're going to see him. He has a cameo in the main story, but he's got his own side story, sort of fusing him, pun perhaps, with his movie version of Electro. We get a backup story for the Black Cat, which is pretty cool. It's going to kind of pay off in upcoming issues. We get a Spider-Man 2099 backup story because they're launching the 2099 main book written by Peter David, which is pretty cool. So you get lots of stuff here in this issue. It's an expensive issue, but you get a lot to it. It's a lot of fun seeing Spider-Man swinging again. It's a silly story. He ends up without clothes, which is pretty fun. No spoiler because it happens in the first 2 pages. But I'd recommend this. Anybody that's digging on the Spider-Man movie or wants to kind of get reacquainted with Spider-Man, it's a great jumping on point. It kind of loses a lot of the baggage that had been part of Spider-Man in the last several storylines and sets up some really interesting things. There's a really cool last couple of pages in the book where the mail section usually explains their big plans for Spidey in 2014-15. So cool stuff. I recommend it. Also this week, another huge number one from Image Comics is Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. Jason Aaron, of course, the guy who did Scalped, which is a book that I always wanted to like more than I did. It certainly was cool. It never was one of the books that I really looked forward to reading. Southern Bastards, however, starts off with one hell of a bang. This is the kind of gritty comic book writing that I tend to really like. And there's no superpowers here, no crazy cosmic anything. This is grounded in reality, gritty, dark, noir-ish story about an old guy who comes back to a small southern town where football is king and nefarious actions happen around every corner. It reminds me a lot of Justified, a show that I keep referencing recently. Very, very cool. I especially like how the flashbacks were conveyed in this book. Lots of pages where you just see images juxtaposition from present day to back when the main character was a younger person. And it's so evocative because of the way it's presented, how it's drawn, the juxtaposition of the two time periods. It's really, really effective, violent, R-rated. This is going to be one of those gritty books, but man, it kicks off with a huge bang, and I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. Southern Bastards from Image Comics. I think this is one we're going to be talking about for a long time. It certainly has got a really cool momentum right out of the gate. That's your comic books for this week. Thanks for watching NLB. We'll be back tomorrow, and I hope you can like and subscribe for more awesome content.